There's this moment that happens in homes with dogs and toddlers. You walk into the living room, and your 3-year-old is sprawled across the family dog like a lumpy pillow. The dog hasn't moved. Your child is whispering secrets into its ear, and you think, how did this become the most normal thing in our house? If you have kids and pets under the same roof, you already know it's chaos. The fur, the noise, the cat knocking things off counters while your toddler thinks it's the funniest thing on earth. But here's what most of us don't talk about enough. Something quiet is happening beneath all that chaos. Something researchers have been tracking for years now, and it has less to do with cuddles and more to do with how your child's brain is learning to work. Let me explain. Section 1. The real dynamic. First, let's talk about what actually happens when animals and children share space. Because if you've never done it, you might imagine this peaceful coexistence. Kids gently petting the family cat, everyone respecting boundaries. The reality? Your 4-year-old uses the dog as a jungle gym. Your toddler tries to share crackers with the guinea pig. Your cat sits on your baby's play mat like it's claiming territory. It's messier than you think, and it requires way more supervision than people admit. But here's the thing most parents discover pretty quickly. Kids don't see pets the way we do. We see responsibility, vet bills, one more thing to manage. Kids see a presence, a companion who's always there when they get home from school, someone who doesn't judge them, doesn't correct them, doesn't tell them to try harder. And that difference, it matters more than we realize. One study followed families over several years and found that children with pets showed higher emotional regulation scores. Not because the pet taught them anything, but because having an animal in the house gave them a safe, low-stakes relationship to practice empathy, patience, and reading nonverbal cues. Your daughter learns that when the cat's tail twitches, it means, give me space. Your son figures out that the dog gets excited when he uses a happy voice. These aren't cute moments. They're emotional lessons your child is absorbing without even knowing it. Section 2. The safety question. Now let's address what every parent wonders at some point. Is this actually safe? Because we've all heard stories. Dogs biting, cats scratching, that one article your mother-in-law sent you about allergens. Here's the honest answer. Animals can pose risks, but most of the danger doesn't come from where we think. The biggest risk? It's not aggression, it's miscommunication. A toddler doesn't know that hugging a dog's neck too tight feels threatening. A preschooler doesn't realize that pulling a cat's tail hurts. They're not being cruel. They just don't have the experience to read what the animal is feeling. And that's where parents come in. Supervision doesn't mean hovering. It means teaching your child how to approach the dog when it's eating, how to pet the cat without trapping it, how to recognize when an animal wants to be left alone. Most incidents happen because a child misread a signal and an adult wasn't there to step in before it escalated. But here's what surprised me when I started looking into this. Homes with pets actually tend to have fewer fear-based reactions to animals as kids grow up. They learn early that animals have moods, needs, and boundaries, just like people do. One pediatrician I came across put it this way: kids who grow up with pets tend to approach the world with a little more curiosity and a little less fear, not because the pet made them braver, but because they learned that even when something seems unpredictable, you can figure it out if you pay attention. Section 3. The things no one tells you. So what are the actual benefits? Not the fluffy Instagram captions, the real ones. Let's start with immune systems. There's solid research now showing that kids exposed to pets early, especially dogs, tend to have fewer allergies and respiratory infections as they grow. Their immune systems get trained by exposure to the bacteria and allergens pets bring into the home. It sounds backwards. More germs equals healthier kids? But that's what the data shows. Then there's social development. Kids with pets often show better social skills in school, not because the pet taught them to share, but because having an animal in the house creates natural opportunities for responsibility, routine, and communication. Your child learns what it means to care for something outside themselves. They see you feeding the dog every morning. They start reminding you when the cat's water bowl is empty. And slowly, without anyone making a big deal out of it, they're learning empathy. But here's the benefit I wasn't expecting: emotional resilience. One long-term study tracked kids through some of the hardest years: middle school, family changes, big transitions. And they found that children with pets consistently reported feeling less alone during stressful times. Not because the pet solved their problems, but because when everything felt confusing, they had one relationship that stayed simple. The dog didn't care if they failed a test. The cat didn't judge them for feeling sad. There was always one being in the house who was just there. And for a lot of kids, that quiet presence becomes an anchor they didn't even know they needed. Section 4, what this looks like day to day. Of course, none of this means it's easy. You're still cleaning up accidents, still reminding your 6-year-old that the hamster can't go to school in their backpack, still stepping over a sleeping dog on your way to the kitchen at 2 a.m., but somewhere in the mess, something else is happening too. Your child is learning that love isn't just a feeling. It's showing up, it's noticing, it's remembering to fill the food bowl even when you're tired. They're learning that some relationships don't involve words at all, that you can comfort someone just by sitting next to them, that being present is sometimes the most important thing you can do. And maybe that's the part no one warns you about when you bring a pet into a home with kids. It's not just about the animal. It's about the version of your child that starts to emerge when they have something smaller than them to care for, something that depends on them, something that doesn't expect perfection, just presence. Section 5, when it goes wrong and why that matters too. Here's the part that rarely makes it into the heartwarming stories. Sometimes it doesn't go smoothly. Sometimes your child gets scratched. Sometimes the dog growls. Sometimes you have to step in fast and everyone ends up startled and upset. And those moments, they matter just as much as the cuddly ones. Because this is where kids learn that love includes limits. That caring about someone also means respecting their boundaries, even when you didn't mean any harm. When you calmly explain the dog growled because that scared him, you're teaching accountability without shame. You're showing your child that mistakes don't end relationships. They deepen understanding. And that's a lesson they'll carry far beyond pets. That empathy isn't about being perfect, it's about noticing, adjusting, and trying again. So if you're in the thick of it right now, if your house smells faintly like dog and there's fur on every surface and your toddler just tried to dress the cat in doll clothes, take a breath. This season is louder and messier than you planned. But it's also building something in your child that you won't fully see for years. A little more empathy, a little more patience, a quiet confidence that comes from learning to love something that can't say, "I love you" back. And honestly, that's not a small thing.